Hello, everybody. Welcome along to an impromptu Rangers Rabble podcast. I woke up this morning to my phone blowing up, talking about this new centre back that we're signing, and I thought it was another one of those rumours that we seem to get hit with at this time of year. But no, there seems to be some substance to it. Robin Pröpper, I believe it is pronounced, but I'm going to get Michael to come in and tell us exactly how it's saying in a wee second. But I'm delighted to say that we are joined by Dutch football expert, Football Orange journalist Michael Statham. Michael, how are you?
Yeah, great, thanks. I feel like I've always gone on these Rangers podcasts whenever you signed an Eredivisie player, and I've always gone, is he any good? Is he one of those flops, or is he actually any good?
Well, I'm hoping that you're going to tell us that he's the next Maldini. That's what I'm hoping you're going to tell us. But no, listen, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and say I know hundreds about him. I've never actually heard of him before. And I've just got back into Football Manager, so you would have thought that I might have. But can you just, Michael, just to tell us a little bit about him, what kind of player he is, what his style is, and what he'll bring to Rangers?
So, Robin Pröpper, he's a Dutch centre-back that has never played outside of the Netherlands before. I've put a tweet already where I said this, but he is a late bloomer. I think he's got to the kind of peak of his career now, and he wants to play abroad. It's an adventure that a lot of, well, every player in the Eredivisie wants to do at some point. You might do it when you're early on in your career, and you might think you can do it without playing for a top club for a long time. You might do it kind of like mid-20s, but then some players, they stay in the Eredivisie for like their whole career, and then they go, I need to take this chance. I need to either go make money in America or like Australia, or maybe I can make that move finally to another club where I can play in Europe and just taste what life is like. Robin Pröpper definitely fits into that category. He kind of stands out as being not like a typical Dutch Eredivisie centre-back, in that normally people associate with Dutch league as being quite nice football. I mean, it is. And you don't get typically, normally, these aggressive, physical centre-backs. And we'll talk about him some more. I've got plenty I can say about him. But I think what might please Rangers fans in some ways is that he's a solid, unspectacular centre-back that is being very good. He's a captain of FC Twente, a side that finished third in the Eredivisie last season. It's not to be sniffed at. He's spent most of his career, though, kind of mid-table, but the past few years, he's really started to just kind of finesse his game and go from being what I considered as quite an average centre-back when he was at Heracles Almelo to, in this last season there, mid-20s, late 20s, becoming a really good centre-back and one of the best the Eredivisie has. I think in terms of football, you know, this is, I would argue that this is on an on-par move going from Twente to Rangers. I think that you're going to a club that's in European football, which is great. He's obviously gone for, though. Twente are a big club, but Rangers are bigger, more fans. I think there'll be another adventure for him, playing for more trophies. Twente are up there now in the Eredivisie, but they're not as strong as PSV. So going to Rangers to get more of a chance. And yeah, he'll obviously get paid more as well at Rangers. So this is a move that works for him. And yeah, look forward to talking about him a bit more, really.
As you can imagine, you know, supporters are a little bit, I don't want to say worried, but cautious with regards to the signing. We had Sam Lammers who came in, Cyril Dessers, who's obviously not Dutch, but came from the Dutch league. We've had a few people come in who, even though Cyril Dessers has scored a barrel load of goals, some people still aren't convinced by him. So there's a kind of tinge of cautious about this signing. I don't want to get myself too excited about it, if I'm being honest with you, Michael, but the things I'm hearing are really good.
I mean, they are very good, but I think also you won't get someone that's going to go and play like even better than this now. Like I said, he's at his peak. I don't think he's going to go and become like a wonder. But I do think he'll be a solid centre-back for your club. And I think playing in the Scottish League, I think he'll be good enough on the ball. I think he'll be physical enough to handle it. And in Europe, it could be more interesting. We've not really seen him play in Europe before. The closest he's got was the Conference League playoffs with Twente when they were knocked out by Fenerbahce last season. He's only had runs in like those kind of qualifiers. He's never been able to play group stage football. And this season was his chance to do that with Twente, at least in the Europa League, if not the Champions League, as are in the qualifiers, as just Rangers. And I think you've got, I think, a player that's been quite dependable and reliable for a long time. So take that, as a confidence boost. But I also know that, you've had players in Eredivisie. People have gone from that league before to English leagues as well, and they haven't impressed. Some have done really well. I mean, you take Jorginho Wijnaldum, who now is past that, but he went to Newcastle, did really well for a year, went to Liverpool, and, was seen as, I think, as a very good player there. But as for Rangers, their record with players from the Eredivisie, how many, like 5 or 6 now in recent years that have Rangers? I mean, Cerny, I think, will be a good one, by the way. Just needs to get his confidence back. But then the other players, I thought Dessers would do really well. And his goal record says that he's had a really good season last season, but I know that the jury's still out on him and he misses more chances as well when he scores. But I never really, I always said, well, you can go and find my thoughts on Ranger shows before. I didn't think Sam Lammers was all that. But now going to Twente, I think he's found himself at Utrecht. So good for him. Danilo, I hope he can play again after his injuries and do something. But again, didn't he was like the best signing ever. So now you got Prpper, I think is actually quite a solid signing. And I think this is a good one from the Dutch league as it goes.
I think it is slightly different in terms of he's a centre back, so we're not expecting him to take players on, score goals, etc. I suppose, let's get to the elephant in the room, and you might not know, but everybody's asking, how long does he have to go on his contract? And what is the rumoured transfer fee? Because we are a club who right now are not known for spending a great deal of money.
I wouldn't know how long his contract is about looking, to be honest, but the fee, I did have a look for this, and there's nothing reported in the Netherlands with this. It says that it's all like kind of under wraps and it's not been reported. So I'm not sure, but I mean, if you were to hazard a guess, you're talking about someone who's at a good club. He's 30. He hasn't got much more to go in that. So, I mean, can't see it being more than 5 million euros. But I could be wrong with that. Maybe it could be a bit more. Yeah, I can't see it being a lot at all.
I know, it's just that because for me, I mean, people are telling me he's got 3 years left on his contract now.
Right.
If you're signing the captain of a centre back of a team in Holland that finished third in the league, it just seems it seems to me like an awful big outlay for Rangers, because the Rangers have got a kind of a relationship with quite a few teams in Holland, to be fair, and I think FC Twente are one of them, where players have came and gone, and it just €5 million, 4 million euros, whatever it is, and I don't know the conversion rate because I'm not intelligent. Seems like an awful lot of money to be spending for a club like Rangers.
Yeah, but I think we're in a world now, aren't we, where players are going for big fees. I mean, you could be that. I sort of compare it a little bit to a Dutch club, because I know that you do need to make more money than you spend, and there are clubs in the Netherlands that have this problem, but they always find a way. They find these deals and they do work out. But yeah, I think the age is an interesting one. Like, Rangers can't make a profit out of this player now, and he will probably be with you for, like, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and then he might either retire or he might return to the Netherlands or something. And yeah, I don't know what Rangers thinking with this one with regards to money, whether you're about to sell someone and take some money from that, whether you have a bit of money left over for a centre back. But I know you did sort of move on a centre back, haven't you, recently?
Yeah,
maybe it's the same kind of thing.
One to Aris. But the reported fee for that again was like 2 million. I think it was around about that. But again, every fee now, Michael's undisclosed, as you know.
Yeah.
Clubs tend to not really like to tell you. Right, I've just a quick question from one of our viewers, from Dell. Do you think you'll be able to lead the back line, because we need leadership?
Definitely.
At Rangers. Like I say, I had a quick look on Football Manager, and his leadership was up at 16 out of 20, which is good, but you can't always go by Football Manager. But in terms of leadership, obviously you said he's a late bloomer. He came into the FC Twente team, and then now he's captain, so he must have some leadership qualities. Yeah,
it's a good question, because I've not talked about it yet. And I think a lot of the things he brings to the table, they'll be very good and solid, but nothing will be like the best ever. He's known as well for scoring a few goals every now and again, getting forward. So just being a threat up there. Like he's physical, but he's not the biggest centre back ever. He's good in the air, but not the best ever in the air. But I think in terms of his overall all-rounded game, yeah, he will bring a lot of good things to the club. I also think the only weakness you could point out this is a little bit slow, but it's not slow. He's just not very quick either. When you think about leadership, though, yeah, definitely he is a captain of a club. He went from Heracles as well, which I think is a big deal. He went from a rival club basically to go and play with Twente. It was as Twente were on the rise to the sort of top end of the table. So he basically swapped at the time one mid-table club for another, but argued that Twente are on the rise and they will be playing Europe, and you get more money and these kinds of things. And I think people then didn't kind of doubt that and went, well, it makes sense, doesn't it? And he probably would be able to live in the same place. And so that's the Netherlands for you. I think if someone had gone from Rangers to Celtic, it would be very different. But yeah, you've got a player that is obviously a leader. He's captain. He does talk. He does shout. He does. He's not quiet as well. He's always had a thing or two to say about the referees. There's the thing to do with the handball. If you look it up in the Netherlands, the situation there. But he is definitely a leader, and I think that's probably one of the biggest reasons you bought him.
You mentioned there at the beginning, obviously you know a lot about the Eredivisie. It's your speciality.
I don't know about much else other than Aston Villa. So.
No, listen, I
just know an awful lot about the league.
I know nothing about nothing. That's why I asked the question. But you mentioned that you felt like he was one of the best centre-backs in Holland. Well, last season at least, obviously, the team doing really well. So was there any other interest in him from any other of the Dutch teams, or was it just a case of that he wanted to go and explore a kind of different location?
Yeah, it's a good question. If you think that he's one of the best defenders in the league, why wouldn't you go into like an Ajax or PSV or Feyenoord? Get that. There's a bit of a thing now in the Netherlands where top sides find it hard to buy from clubs that are just below that. They're sub-top, they call it in the Netherlands. Twente fit into that category, and they'd rather not sell to clubs like that because it's debilitating their own ambitions, and they'd rather do it themselves. They'd rather contend at the top, play for trophies, play in Europe, and sell to a club in Europe because it will just weaken them and strengthen their opponents. Other interest, yeah. So last summer there was, but Twente rejected it all. They said that you couldn't go anywhere, and I think Prpper was happy to stay. But it would have been the same situation for him as a player. Like, he was at the same age to have a last chance to go abroad. So I don't think that really hindered him. I don't think he minded that. He could become captain of the club as well, which is another thing that was obviously attractive to another foreign club. So I can't name any clubs, but I do know that there was strong interest in last summer. I think people were commenting as well that he could easily have played sort of the Netherlands use the sub-top quite a lot, but either sub-top in Spain or somewhere in the Bundesliga, or could he have gone to Italy, for example? A lot of players go from Netherlands to Italy if they aren't seen as like Premier League quality. They like to make that move to Serie A. So this is another move where it makes sense that a player's going from that sort of sub-top in the Netherlands and they will go to Rangers, bigger crowd, more money, European football, and just really attractive proposition, I think, to play for Rangers. So yeah, it fits into that category quite nicely. And Twente weren't going to say no when an offer came in for him because they agreed on a fee that if a club had paid for it, then he could go this time. I just wanted to know from a Twente point of view, they're about to enter the Champions League qualifiers, losing their captain, one of their main centre-backs. They said that they're going to use one of their standing centre-backs in those games. I just wonder why this hadn't been done earlier. But Rangers' interest, I've heard, only come about the last day or two. So it's all happened very quickly like that. And yeah, it leaves Twente a bit of a predicament now for their Champions League qualifiers. But I suppose they're quite happy with Europa League football, given that they didn't have any European football last season. Yeah, it's a club that are still on the rise, I feel, but just a few odd decisions, their transfers this summer.
Yeah, I seen that. They're playing on Tuesday. I can't remember who it was they were playing, but
Salzburg. Quite a tough tie.
Really, really, really good team as well. So yeah, that's a surprise. So was that always the deal between Twente and Prpper? Was it as soon as he says to them, "Look, no offence, but I want to go and try something different." And there was no animosity between him and the club or anything like that?
Absolutely not. I've given 3 years of really good service, and yeah, that's the Netherlands for you again. It doesn't happen everywhere where a player, they're just happy for the player to go. They will take that hit, sadly, if it means that there's Champions League qualifier at the start of the season not quite as good, because they know they can replace him with somebody else. Another one that I think Twente are a nice club for Rangers to look at to like kind of pinch players. That you got Mace Hilgers as well. I think might have been Ruben Rangers once, maybe in the past. Really good young centre back. Has a lot of potential. Sadilek as well is a good left-footed centre midfielder. I think is another good player. yeah, they've got a bunch of decent players who've only got 1 or 2 weak spots in them, and they're super good at home as well. Which is why I think Prpper will handle the home crowds in Scotland, because he's used to it. He's used to a really vociferous home crowd.
Well, that is the big question, I suppose. I don't think anybody can really answer it until it happens. But you did mention that he spent all his career in Holland.
Yeah,
So it's that adaptability. It's about coming to a new country. It's about coming to Scotland. It's about dealing with the winters
yeah,
and the summers, which are pretty much like winter. But it's also, I don't know what it's like in Holland, but he won't be able to just nip to the shop for a pint of milk. He won't be able to nip into the town and go a bit of shopping without being mobbed by people. Um, Personality wise, I mean, you might not know, it's a difficult question to answer, but he'll need to be made aware of that, made aware of what he's coming into, because there's a lot of top players who have came to Rangers in the past who just haven't been able to deal with that.
Yeah, that could be tough for him. I think he's got enough resilience though from playing the Netherlands. You do get some tough games. I mean, the derby's not quite as vile in the Netherlands between Twente and Heracles. There is a bit of it there, but it's not the same as the old firm, is it? You've got though playing like Ajax away, PSV away, final away, where they are tough atmospheres, and 22 have a big home crowd. They are a club where I think using it really loosely, but they're that Man United of the Netherlands. A lot of people typically have supported like Ajax or Twente, even if they're not from Enschede. They like to support Twente or Ajax. More often Ajax, of course. I think people would understand that, but it's one of those clubs again, which is big, and people like to hate them and to cast out on them. But I think with the way that the Twente have come back from being relegated to a second division, Rangers done something similar, of course, and then coming back up, rising to the top of the league again. It's been a nice rise that Prpper has been a part of. And fans, I think, have been more like understanding. So that's maybe something he will have to get adjusted to, is that pressure that actually know that you always need to win now. Twente just had a really good home record where they barely ever lost, but it was seen as like a really good thing rather than an expected thing. So yeah, he could find that tough. But as a captain of Twente, I don't think it's like below him or anything. I think he can manage it.
Is it just purely centre back that
Yeah.
Robin plays in? It's not, how you get players that can maybe slot into right back or slot into left back or even a defensive mid. Is he just purely an out and out centre back?
I'll be very surprised if he plays anywhere different.
And is it the kind of right hand side or left hand side, or does that not matter?
I mean, he's quite flexible with that, actually. He can play both sides of centre back, and in terms of a weak foot, don't really have one. I don't see it as a big problem for him. Adaptable in those aspects, but very much a centre back.
Quality. Just before I let you go, Michael, could I just ask you? You mentioned him right at the start of the show. Again, this goes to show my football knowledge. I had never heard of Vaclav Cerny, but you mentioned him there. Can you give us your insight into what you think he'll bring to Rangers, just quickly?
So I think he's one of those players that, like, Prpper's really solid and unspectacular. I think Cerny is the opposite. I think he can be really, really exciting if you can get him playing again. He's obviously tried to make the move to the Bundesliga and it hasn't really worked for him. That did surprise me. So in terms of the players that are cool flops and hits, he was one that I thought, mid-20s, going for it. Like, he won't go to the top of the Bundesliga, but I think he can do it at that level. I was really surprised. Maybe it was a confidence thing. Injuries got in the way too, not really giving over those opportunities. But when playing with Twente, he had a rise from failing with Ajax. He then played with Utrecht for a little while and was actually booed by the crowd. I didn't think he did very much when coming on as a sub. It was like pity minutes when he was brought on. And then Twente took him up when, like I've said to you, they were that mid-table team on the rise up. And it surprised me because I thought, I don't know why they picked him up. It'll be the same situation. You'll get some minutes off the bench. And then he started hitting it. He just had a bit of a transformation. Do you know, it was so when he came back from like a year-long injury, he came back like a new man. He was smiling. He looked confident in a different way. A bit of arrogance had come back to him, which you'd never seen him have before. He always looked really worried when he came off the bench. But he sort of shaved his hair off and was like a new man. And I don't know, he just started playing super well and was taking on defenders all the time, putting crosses in, really direct. And then that last season he had with Twente was just brilliant and was one of the players of the season in the Netherlands. The way that Twente could be so brilliant at home. He was a threat away as well. One of the few players that seemed to play well away and home and away for Twente that season. And he thought, yeah, brilliant. He's got that move and he'll do okay abroad, and he hasn't. So I think now going back to Rangers in a league where he'll be on the ball quite a lot, trying to take on these defenders in low blocks, I think it suits him. You'll see him quite a lot going from right foot to left foot, cutting inside, hammering a shot. He'll take on the left back and he'll try and play a low cross in. A question I was asked is whether he can play on both wings. For me, he can, but you'll get the best out of him on the right wing in a kind of I and Robin style where he'll cut in quite a lot. I really liked him and I was sad when it didn't work out. So I will actually be following Rangers quite closely now with quite a few players from the Eredivisie. I want to see Cerny do well and Prpper do well and a few others as well. So yeah, fingers crossed. I'm more excited about him, but I'm also cautious. Unlike Prpper, where I think it will be fine. I think Cerny, it will be hit or miss. Like, which way will he go? And I'm leaning more towards hit, and I think he'll do well. I think he'll be a starting right winger, get him playing, get him scoring, and really exciting to watch.
Well, obviously him and Prpper have played with each other as well.
Yeah.
So I suppose that's also a massive benefit. Just sorry, one thing I forgot to ask regarding Robin was international caps. I don't think he's had any. I could be wrong.
No.
But
No,
is he close at all? Was there any? Was he ever looked at? I know, obviously, Van Dijk, obviously, until the day that he loses a leg, he'll be the Holland centre back. But was he
somewhat
ever close?
unfortunately, yeah. There are far too many centre backs the Netherlands have that he just never really came into consideration. I can't remember when he was mooted as like he'll come into the squad, he'll be given a chance. It's just a bit sad, really, but I think that just shows a depth that the Netherlands has now at centre back. You know, you got De Ligt, De Vrij, Timber, Van der Ven. I could keep going. Yeah, there are far too many centre backs that we have now that he just can't fit into that. But that's what I mean again by a player that is really solid and dependable. Won't be your best player, but also I don't think he's going to be someone that you go, oh, just drop him. He's not good enough. I think he comes in and plays well.
Well, like I said to you before we started, you know, we've signed young centre backs. We've let Connor Goldson go to Aris, who was our most experienced centre back, if you like. We've got two injury prone centre backs. That was another thing, obviously, about his injuries. I know he suffered a really bad cruciate. I think it was in 18-19, but ever since then, it's just been 2 or 3 days. So actually, just quickly, he doesn't miss many games, does he?
No, very dependable, and just seems to be always there for Twente. I think that when they missed him every now and again for the few years, it did miss him. And when it was back, it was like, welcome back, Robin Pröpper. They've got him back, and he's really solid.
And I can't let you go, actually, without mentioning Sam Lammers again. What is the kind of chat in Holland regarding Sam? Because obviously he went on loan last season from us after we signed him, and he broke the goal scoring record in the Eredivisie. He's obviously now moved there. What's the kind of chat around Sam?
That he was a player when he came back. It was like, oh, here he is. He's come crawling back to Netherlands, where he should have been. He should have tried mid-table football. He should have stuck with it for a bit. Far too late for him. Or it's level all along. I don't know. But when he scored his goals, I was like, he's eating humble pie, thinking, oh my God, he's a goal scorer now. He was a wonder kid way back in the day. But I always knew that he made the move far too early. The injuries held him back. And people knew that in Netherlands that he'd come back to kind of bring himself back to what he could do. Yeah, he just started scoring goals and was dependable. He always looks a bit lanky, like a bit lumbersome, but actually playing him as at number 9, you can get the best out of him. Rangers, I know, tried playing him on the left as a number 10, maybe even as a second striker, but
everywhere but number 9.
But a number 9, but he was playing his best football when playing there, which he did when he was at Heerenveen that once. He scored like once every 2 games. It was a record at the time. So now with Utrecht, he was getting back to his best and was given starts. I think it's that thing in it. It goes really quickly. Confidence is just, it rules so much in football that then brought it back. And Trent were obviously thinking, how can we take a chance on this player, because he is the number 9 that we need. He fits our style perfectly from what you saw from the second half of the last season. And who knows, maybe in 2-3 years, like he's making a transfer against somewhere else, maybe. Yeah, good for him though. He needs to settle. He needs to play for, which is what he wanted when he went to Rangers. And I was doubtful, but now I'm actually more hopeful again that this could be the move that works for him, because he's going to be in a formation that will work.
Well, I really do. I wish him all the best, because it wasn't for a lack of trying with Sam.
No.
He gave you 100% every single game, and it just unfortunately never worked for him. So, but by all reports, a deal's been struck, and Robin Pröpper is in having a medical. So I'm guessing, from what you know and from what we know, this deal will 100% happen. It's just a case of passing a medical.
Yeah, the Netherlands, it's been stated that he will just have to pass a medical. It's come about very quickly in the last day or two, and the player obviously really wants to move. He was blocked from having moved last summer, so this summer is his chance, and I think he'll be really excited for it.
And I'm excited to see him, a proper centre back at last, which is desperately what we need. Michael, my friend, thank you so much for coming on at short notice. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, pleasure. And if you want to know more about Dutch football, we do it all in English language. With football Aranya, and spelt like an English football orange, but you place a G with a J. My Twitter's there as well, at the bottom there.
I keep saying orange.
People do it. It's fine.
I thought I was doing it right. By the way, the links for Michael's Twitter and Football Orange, I said it wrong again, is in the description of this video as well. So go and check that out for all you need to know about Dutch football. Michael, thank you very much. To everybody watching, thank you for tuning in. Greatly appreciate the support. Please like and subscribe across all the channels and all the socials and stuff like that. I'm not very good at advertising stuff, Michael. I'm terrible at it. But you know where to follow us. Again, many thanks to Michael for coming on and talking to us about Robin Pröpper. And hopefully he can come in and be the centre back that we need. So until next time, folks, thank you for watching, and we'll speak to you again very, very soon.